Hello, good evening, and welcome to a new episode of Arguably the Reading Quest. I am Nishant. So, first thing first, if you have noticed, I have changed the logo of our YouTube channel. I hope all of you, will like it. Please have a look at it and do let me know how did you like it. Also, on my post, I got some really engaging comments that you guys are willing to go ahead with a dedicated episode on novels that explores the complexity of man-woman relationship. So here we go. So in this video, I am going to talk about some of the novels that explore the complexity of man-woman relationship. Of course, when it comes to novels exploring the complexity of a man and a woman relationship, we all know that it goes without saying all the novels of D.H. Lawrence. But the subject of this episode is not D.H. Lawrence. Some of the novels of George Eliot, some of the novels of Thomas Hardy, some of the novels of Somerset Maugham, uh, multiple plays of Oscar Wilde are there. But in this video, I have particularly chosen those novels that are written after 1960s so as to give you some contemporary literature in order for you to read and appreciate that. So I have chosen 5 novelists, great novelists, 3 of which are women, 2 are men, 4 are Nobel Prize winner. One was forever a perennial contender of novel but couldn't have been awarded a Nobel Prize. So yes, here we go. So the very first novel that I would like to suggest to you, one of the oldest Nobel Prize winner in literature, at the age of 87, was none other than Doris Lessing. So this novel I'm going to discuss today, to suggest you, is The Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing. And it's quite thick novel. It will take you 15 days to read. Some 550 pages. Beautifully written. Now, you'll be fascinated that what reasons were cited by Nobel Prize Committee that why this writer should have been awarded a Nobel. So Lessing was awarded in the year 2007 the Nobel Prize in Literature, and in awarding the prize, the Swedish Academy described her as the epicist of female experience. You see, so all those ladies out there, if you want to read, it's for you to read and appreciate. The epicist of female experience, who with skepticism, fire and visionary power has subjected a divided civilization to scrutiny. Lessing was the oldest person ever to receive the Nobel Prize at the age 87. She passed away in the year 2013. So Golden Notebook, as the story goes, Anna is a writer, author of one very successful novel, who now keeps 4 notebooks. In one with a black cover, she reviews the African experience of her earlier years. In red one, she records her political life, her disillusionment with communism. In a yellow one, she writes a novel in which the heroine relives part of her own experience. And in the blue one, she keeps a personal diary. Finally, in love with an American writer and threatened with insanity, Anna tries to bring the threads of all the 4 books together in a golden notebook. Hence the name, The Golden Notebook. You see such beautiful quotes that will give you an idea of the writing style. For with my intuition, I knew that this man was repeating a pattern over and over again. Courting a woman with his intelligence and sympathy, claiming her emotionally, then when she began to claim in return, running away. And the better a woman was, the sooner he would begin to run. I knew this with my intuition, and yet I sat there in my dark room, looking at the hazed, wet brilliance of the purple London sky, longing with my whole being. What is terrible is to pretend that second rate is first rate, to pretend that you don't need love when you do, or you like your work when you know quite well you are capable of better. because I was permanently confused, dissatisfied, unhappy, tormented by inadequacy, driven by wanting towards every kind of impossible future. The attitude of mind described by tolerantly amused eyes was years away from me. I don't think I really saw people then except as appendages to my needs. It's only now looking back that I understood, but at the time I lived in a brilliantly lit haze, shifting and flickering according to my changing desires. Of course, that is only a description of being young, says Doris Lessing. She thinks for the 100th time that in their emotional life, all these intelligent men use a level so much lower than anything they use for work that they might be different creatures. He destroyed in her the knowing, doubting, sophisticated Ella. And again and again, he put her intelligence to sleep. And with her winning connivance, so that she floated darkly on her love for him, on her naivety, which is another word for a spontaneous creative fate. And when his own distrust of himself destroyed this woman in love, so that she began thinking she would fight to return to naivety, says Doris Lessing. I hope the books that I'm going to suggest today, most of the work you would not guess, or at least out of these five, at least four of the works you would not guess. So the second is a contemporary French writer who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in the year 2022. And yes, we are talking about Annie and Rocks and her semi-autobiographical novel known as autofiction. She created a new genre known as autofiction. Annie and Rocks, Nobel Prize in Literature in the year 2022 from France. One of the greatest living writers from France. And the Nobel Committee cites the reason for her being awarded the Nobel Prize for the courage and clinical acuity with which she uncovers the roots, strangements, and the collective restraints of personal memory. Now, her literary work, mostly autobiographical, you will be surprised, you'll be delighted that maintains a close link with sociology. So, Annie and Rocks documents the desires and indignities of a human heart, ensnared in all-consuming passion, blurring the line between fact and fiction. An unnamed narrator attempts to plot the emotional and physical course of her 2 years' relationship with a married foreigner where every word, every event and person either provides a connection with her beloved or is subject to her cold indifference. So this is a novel. This was written after a diary she wrote. And if you want to read the diary, both of these can be read one by one, one after another. So the diary named is Getting Lost. And the diary is turned into a novel, Simple Passion. So both the works can be read. But because the subject of today's video were novels, so I thought of including this and not the other one. But both of them can be read. In Simple Passion, Annie and Rocks confesses without pity or piety a 2-year-old passionate love affair she had with a married man. And all the facts of this passion, brutal in their simplicity, are disinterred, disentangled, and resurrected. And for Anne Rocks, it was an obsession, a sickness, as if she were possessed by something other than himself. You see the beautiful quotes? When I was a child, luxury was fur coats, evening dresses, and villas by the sea. Later on, I thought it meant leading the life of an intellectual. Now I feel that it is also being able to live without a passion for a man or a woman, says Annie and Rocks. From the very beginning and throughout the whole of our affair, I had the privilege of knowing what we all find out in the end. The man we love is a complete stranger. When someone confided in me, a man or a woman who admitted they were having or had had a crazy love affair with a guy or a very close relationship with someone, I occasionally felt like opening up. But once the excitement of sharing our secrets was over, I resented having let myself go, if only a little. Those conversations, when I had continually responded to the other person by saying, "Me too, it's the same for me, I did that too," suddenly seemed futile, removed from the reality of my own passion. Rather, something was lost through these outbursts. I discovered what people are capable of. In other words, anything. Sublime or deadly desires, lack of dignity, attitudes, and beliefs I have found absurd in others until I myself returned to them. Without knowing it, he brought me closer to the world. So, this book, Simple Passion by Annie and Rocks. Her most important work, her magnum opus, is The Ears. But if you want to read a particular subject that we are discussing today, you can go for this one. Another Nobel Prize winner in literature, again a woman. I have misplaced her book, please pardon me. You can see it at my computer screen. She is Alfred Jelinek. Alfred Jelinek is an Austrian playwright and a novelist, best known for her novel The Piano Teacher. Yes, and we are discussing The Piano Teacher. And she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2004 for her musical voice, for a musical flow of voices and counter voices in novels and plays that, with extraordinary linguistic zeal, reveals the absurdity of society's cliches and their subjugating power. So, The Piano Teacher, it's a very powerful book. The writing style is, of course, postmodern, filled with feminist rage, critique of capitalism, critique of patriarchal society. So if you want to read something of a feminist rage, something very deeply psychological at the same time, Alfred Jelinek is definitely recommended. Every day a piece of music, a short story or a poem dies because its existence is no longer justified in our time, and things that were once considered immortal have become mortal again. No one knows them anymore, even though they deserve to survive. Her body is a big refrigerator where art is well stored. The mob not only grabs hold of art without being entitled to do so, but it also enters the artist. It takes up residence inside the artist and smashes a few holes in the wall. Windows to the outer world. The mob wants to be seen, said Alfred Jelinek in The Piano Teacher. So these three novels are by women writer. Now two novels by male. One has been awarded a Nobel Prize in Literature in the year 2003 and one was forever a perennial contender of Nobel Prize, never to have been awarded, perhaps greater than the Nobel Prize itself. So another book that I'm going to recommend you is Disgrace by James Coetzee. I don't know how many of you have read it, how many of you know about this book. But this is a very, very dark novel depicting the effect of the arrival of a stranger and how arrival of a stranger changes everything. So this novel won him his first Booker in the year 1999 and he was awarded a Nobel Prize in the year 2003. One of my very favorite writers. And I have also suggested his name in a series of novels that I did under the title Some of the Greatest Philosophical Novels. So James Coetzee was awarded a Nobel Prize in Literature, making him the fourth African writer to be so honored, and second South African writer after Nandini Gordheimer. So the Swedish committee state that Coetzee, in innumerable guises, portrays the surprising involvement of the outsider. in innumerable guises, portrays the surprising involvement of an outsider. Uh, and the press release for the award also cited his well crafted composition, pregnant dialogue, and analytical brilliance while focusing on the moral nature of his work. The language is so pithy, devoid of any adjectives and adverbs, short sentences, but very pithy, very powerful. They will stab you, trust me. Very powerful. I mean, and when I read Disgrace, I was like astonished. So dark a novel. So it's the story of a university professor who slept with one of her students, and it was not clear whether it was a consensual shared sleep or whether it was kind of a molestation or rape. But he was, then tried, prosecuted in the university committee. Then he left the university, resigned the university, and went to live on with his daughter in some farm in a remote interior village in South Africa, where in front of his own eyes, her own daughter was raped by a black man. Very, very dark novel, trust me. And that depicts the complexity of course, the existential trauma is there, the trauma of, apartheid is there, colonialism element is definitely there. And the surprising involvement, as the Nobel Prize Committee cites, of the stranger is there. You see, this is one of the most beautiful quotes on reading, on teaching, because I'm myself a teacher, so I can relate to this quote. He continues to teach because it provides him with a livelihood. Also because it teaches him humility, brings it home to him who he is in the world. The irony does not escape him, that the one who comes to teach learns the keenest of lessons, while those who come to learn nothing, says James Coetzee. His mind has become a refuge for old thoughts, idle, indigent, with nowhere else to go. He ought to chase them out, sweep the premises clean, but he does not care to do so, nor does care enough. Yet we cannot live our daily lives in a realm of pure ideas, cocooned from sense experience. The question is not how we can keep the imagination pure, protected from the onslaught of reality. The question has to be, can we find a way for the two to coexist, says James Coetzee. In a sudden and soundless eruption, as if he has fallen into a waking dream, a stream of images pours down, images of women he has known on 2 continents, some from so far away in time that he barely recognizes them. Like leaves blown on the wind, pell-mell they pass before him, a fair field full of fogs, hundreds of lives all tangled with his. He holds his breath, willing the vision to continue. What happened to them? All those women, all those lives. Are there moments when they too, or some of them, are plunged without warning into the ocean of memory? Like a flower blooming in his breast, his heart floods with thankfulness. So this novel, this powerful, little small book, has to be read. Now, one of the greatest existentialist writers of the past century. He died last year. He passed away last year. Yes, we are talking of Milan Kundera. Probably because of his, very kind of, you can say, not so good view of women in his novel is one reason he was denied Nobel Prize in Literature, because his ideas were not at all in consonance with the ideals of the Nobel Prize Committee. But he was a universe in himself. So when I'm talking about the unbearable lightness of being, I have also mentioned this book in the series of the best philosophical novels ever written. I have also mentioned this book in the very last episode of mine, some of the greatest existentialist writings that you're supposed to read in order to understand existentialism through novels. And I'm also mentioning this if you want to delve deeper into a man and a woman relationship. So, this is a story of a young woman in love with a man, torn between his love for her and his incorrigible womanizing, adultery, and one of his mistress and her humbly faithful lover. This is all the story about. But full of, from very first 2 pages, you will understand what a great writer he is. The way he discusses the problem of being and existence and the problem of evil and the existence of God, you'll be surprised. Making love with a woman and sleeping with a woman are two separate passions, not merely different but opposite. Love does not make itself felt in the desire for copulation, a desire that extends to an infinite number of women, but in the desire for shared sleep, a desire limited to one woman. And this is one of the most beautiful quotes on love that I always quote here and there. He suddenly recalled from Plato's Symposium, people were hermaphrodites until God split them in two. And now all the halves wander the world over seeking one another. Love is longing for the half of the ourselves that we have lost. She had an overwhelming desire to tell him, like the most banal of women, don't let me go, hold me tight, make me your plaything, your slave, be strong. But they were words she could not say. The only thing she said when he released her from his embrace was, you don't know how happy I am to be with you. That was the most her reserved nature allowed her to express. Does he love me? Does he love anyone more than me? Does he love me more than I love him? Perhaps all the questions we ask of love, to measure, test, probe, and save it, have the additional effect of cutting it short. Perhaps the reason we are unable to love is that we yearn to be loved. That is, we demand something from our partner instead of delivering ourselves up to him, demand-free and asking for nothing but his company. Apart from that, I would also like to include one quote on how Milan Kundera describes symmetry. Because this too is a part of novel's recurring genius. At every stage there is an elegiac note to happiness. Elegiac note to happiness. Symmetries in Bohemia are like gardens. The graves are covered with grass and colorful flowers. Modest tombstones are lost in greenery. When the sun goes down, the cemetery sparkles with tiny candles. It looks as though the dead are dancing at a children's ball. Yes, a children's ball, because the dead are as innocent as children. No matter how brutal life becomes, peace always reigns in the cemetery. Even in wartime, in Hitler's time, in Stalin's time, through all occupations. When she felt low, Sabina would get into the car, leave Prague far behind, and walk through one of or the other of the country's cemeteries she loved so well. Against the backdrop of blue hills, they were as beautiful as a lullaby. So guys, I hope I have given you 4 great novels to be read in order to understand a man and a woman relationship, the complexities. Please do let me know how did you like the video. Please watch the video till the end. If you have still not liked, shared and subscribed my YouTube channel, Arguably The Reading Quest, please do that. Happy reading, guys.